Hey everyone, today we're talking about 10 cheap items that will be worth more than gold when disaster strikes. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure to watch until the end. The last item is so unexpected you won't believe its power. So let's get started. Imagine that you have enough food in your fridge for a week, boxes of canned goods in your pantry, and frozen meat in your freezer for a month ahead. You feel ready for any crisis, right? But then comes the moment of truth, and you realize that all those calories aren't worth a dollar when darkness falls like a hammer on your familiar world. My friend Sarah from Tampa still remembers February of 21, when a hurricane left her neighborhood without power for 12 days. She had enough food for her family of four for a month. But do you know what happened? She couldn't cook rice without an electric stove. She couldn't heat baby food without a microwave. Even the can opener turned out to be electric. And when the meat began to spoil in the unplugged freezer, she just stood there crying among the mountains of unusable food. The darkness has an amazing ability to make something we usually don't pay attention to invaluable. When the power goes out, when cell towers fall, when the familiar world is turned upside down, your life depends not on the number of calories in your cupboards, but on simple tools that will help you turn those calories into survival. I'm going to tell you about 10 items, each of which costs less than $20. On a normal day, you can buy them at any store without even thinking about it. But when the crisis comes, and it will definitely come, these things will become more expensive than gold. The cheapest item on this list saved the lives of an entire family in Texas last year when a winter storm turned their home into an ice trap. Every American family thinks they're prepared for a disaster, but 90% of us are not. We stockpile food but forget about what will allow us to use it. We buy generators for thousands of dollars, but we don't have basic things that will work when the generator breaks down. So today we will talk not about what to eat, but about how to survive. Not about calories, but about tools. Not about comfort, but about life and death. These 10 items may be on the shelves of your garage or basement today, waiting for their time. When the blackout hit New England in 2003, my brother Mike learned something extremely important about the nature of light and survival. His neighbor bought a $500 generator that lasted only 2 days before running out of fuel. Mike spent $6 on plain white candles, and they lasted for 3 weeks straight. Item number 1, plain white candles. Forget about scented vanilla candles or decorative versions in glass candle holders. I'm talking about the most basic white paraffin candles that you can buy in a package of 12 for $2 or $3. These small cylinders can burn for 8 to 12 hours each, which means that for $10 you get a light for a month. But it's not just about the light. One candle provides enough heat to warm a small room by 5 to 10 degrees. In a crisis, this can mean the difference between hypothermia and survival. My Aunt Dorothy from Vermont told me how during the ice storm of '98, 4 candles in the bathroom allowed her and her husband to wash dishes with warm water. The candles work absolutely silently. There is no humming of the generator to attract the attention of unwanted guests. No glowing flashlight to give away your location through the windows. Just a quiet, warm calm that will allow you to remain invisible when it's vital. Candles also have incredible barter value. When people run out of batteries for flashlights, when fuel for a generator becomes worth its weight in gold, a candle turns into a treasure that can be exchanged for food, water, or medicine. Item number 2, empty plastic bottles. Here's something most people don't even think about. The same plastic bottles we throw away every day can become life-saving tools. You don't need to buy anything. Just don't throw away your water, soda, or juice bottles. Rinse them and store them. The most important function is solar water disinfection. Fill a transparent plastic bottle with water from any source, a river, a lake, even a puddle, and place it in the sun for 6 to 8 hours. Ultraviolet rays will destroy 99% of bacteria and viruses. This method has saved thousands of lives in third world countries and can save your life here in America. My friend Tom in California used this technique during the wildfires of 1920 when their water was contaminated with ash and smoke. 6 bottles on the roof of his car gave him 5 gallons of clean drinking water every day. But the bottles are not just water. Cut off the top and you get the perfect funnel for pouring fuel or oil. Cut off the bottom and you get a scoop for pouring bulk substances. And the whole bottle can be turned into a container for storing nails, screws, or even seeds. During Hurricane Harvey, a family in Houston used 15 2-liter bottles to collect rainwater from their gutters. In one night, they collected 30 gallons of clean water, enough for 4 people for a week. Item number 3, a basic set of hand tools. When the power goes out, your power tools turn into useless pieces of metal, but the world around you doesn't stop breaking down. On the contrary, in a crisis, things break down more often and at the most inconvenient times. For $15 to $25, you can assemble a basic kit that will become your lifeline. A regular screwdriver and Phillips screwdriver, pliers, a small hammer, and a handsaw. These 5 tools will allow you to repair your roof, reinforce windows, take apart furniture for firewood, and solve hundreds of problems that arise during disasters. My neighbor Joe, an electrician with 30 years of experience, told me how during the Oklahoma tornado, his entire arsenal of power tools was useless without electricity. But an old hammer and pliers helped him pull his family out of the rubble and build a temporary shelter out of the debris. A hand saw will allow you to prepare firewood from fallen trees or broken furniture. Screwdrivers will be indispensable for repairing anything from door handles to water taps. Pliers will turn into universal hands that will allow you to pull, twist, hold, and bend materials without injury. These tools also have a huge barter value. The ability to repair something in a world where everything breaks makes you the most valuable person in the neighborhood. Even if you're not a tinkerer, basic tools will allow you to learn and help others in exchange for food, water, or safety. During Hurricane Sandy, a man from New Jersey used a simple hammer and nails to board up all the windows of his house with plywood. This saved his family from flying glass and debris. And when the storm passed, he used the same hammer to clear the debris and help his neighbors. Chapter 3. Your hands are the most important survival tool you have. Without them, you won't be able to hold a hammer, clear debris, collect water, or even start a fire. But when a crisis comes, the first thing we risk losing is our hands. A cut, a burn, frostbite, infection. Any injury can turn you from a lifesaver to a burden for your family in a matter of minutes. Item number 4, durable work gloves. My cousin Linda from Moore, Oklahoma, still keeps a pair of thick leather gloves in her bedroom after what happened in the spring of 2013. A tornado destroyed half of their neighborhood in 15 minutes. When it was over, Linda and her husband began searching for neighbors under the rubble. For the first 10 minutes, they worked with their bare hands, sharp glass, broken nails, metal fragments. Linda's hands turned into a bloody mess. Meanwhile, someone was screaming for help under the rubble. It was then that her husband remembered the gloves in the trunk of the car. For $8 to $12, a pair of sturdy work gloves can be your life insurance. Leather or thick fabric with double-stitch seams. They will protect against cuts, burns, and frostbite. In insulated versions, your hands will remain functional even at temperatures of -20 Fahrenheit. But gloves are not just about protection. They give you a better grip when working with wet or slippery objects. They allow you to hold hot metal tools. They protect against electric shock when working with wires. And they also hide fingerprints if you have to do things that are better off without leaving marks. Gloves also have a psychological effect. When you put them on, your hands turn into tools. You feel ready to work, to dig, to build. It's like a soldier's uniform. It changes your mindset and prepares you for action. My Uncle Frank, who worked in construction for 30 years, always said, "A man without gloves is like a soldier without a gun." During Hurricane Harvey, he rescued 3 people from a flooded house precisely because he was able to break a glass door without hurting his hands. His thick gloves allowed him to work with sharp debris while others stood by. And my friend Rebecca, a nurse, told me how during a snowstorm in Buffalo, gloves allowed her to get to the hospital on foot. The temperature was -30 and the wind was knocking her down. Without the gloves, her hands would have frozen in 5 minutes and she wouldn't have been able to open her car door or even hold her keys. Item number 5, thick plastic wrap. If gloves protect your hands, plastic wrap protects your entire world. For $10 to $15, you can buy a roll of thick 10 by 25 foot construction film. That's enough to save your house from the elements. My friend Carlos from Miami used ordinary plastic sheeting to save his home during Hurricane Irma. When the wind blew out 2 windows in the living room, water started to flood the house. Carlos quickly covered the holes with plastic sheeting and taped them shut. In 2 hours of work, he saved thousands of dollars worth of furniture, electronics, and documents. But the film is not just a repair. By stretching it between trees or walls, you create an ideal rainwater collector. A single rainfall on a 10-square-foot area can yield up to 50 gallons of water. That's enough drinking water for a family of 4 for a week. The film also creates warm zones in a cold house. By covering one room with it, you reduce the volume of air that needs to be heated with candles or a heater. The temperature can rise by 10 to 15 degrees compared to the rest of the house. The film also hides the light. When it's dark and a candle is burning in your window, you become a target for burglars. By covering your windows with film, you can use the light without being seen from the outside. A family in New Orleans used the film to create a shower in their backyard, and after Hurricane Katrina left them without running water. 4 poles in the film gave them a private space to wash with rainwater. During the ice storm in Vermont, my Aunt Elizabeth used the film to create a survival room in her basement. By stretching the film from ceiling to floor, she created an 8 by 8 foot space. 3 candles and the heat from their bodies raised the temperature in this miniature room to 50 degrees, while the rest of the basement was 32. The film also becomes a lifesaver in floods. By stretching it between poles or trees above the ground, you create an elevated sleeping platform. This can save lives when the water rises slowly but steadily. Item number 6, old towels and rags. The most underrated item in any home is old fabrics. Those towels that you were going to throw away after buying new ones. T-shirts with holes in them, old sheets with stains. During the crisis, these unnecessary things become more expensive than silk. My neighbor Pam still recalls how an old towel saved her 7-year-old son's life during the Louisiana floods. The boy had injured his leg on a sharp rebar, and he was bleeding so badly that no amount of Band-Aids could help. Pam tore an old bath towel into strips and made a tight bandage. The bleeding stopped, and the towel saved the child's life until the paramedics arrived. For $5 to $10, you can buy a pack of old towels at a second-hand store or simply save the ones you were going to throw away. Tissue is first aid without a first aid kit. Bandages, dressings, tourniquets, tire pads. All of these can be made from an old towel. But medicine is only one application. Towels become water filters. By wrapping a cloth around the neck of the bottle, you filter out dirt, leaves, and large particles from the water before solar disinfection. This doubles the cleaning efficiency. In cold weather, towels turn into insulation. Wrapping them around your feet under your shoes prevents frostbite. Wrapping them around your body under your jacket creates an additional layer of insulation. And wet towels around your neck protect you from overheating in the heat. Towels also become tools. You can put out small fires with a wet towel. Dry towels can be used to wipe off condensation that destroys metal tools. A thick towel can be used to hold hot objects without gloves. During the blackout in Texas, a family used old sheets to seal windows and doors. This kept the heat in the house and reduced heating energy costs by 30%. My friend Robert, a doctor, told me how during Hurricane Sandy he used ordinary kitchen towels to create makeshift masks. With debris and dust flying in the air, the wet towels on his face allowed his family to breathe clean air. The cloths also have barter value. Clean towels and sheets become a luxury when the ability to wash and dry clothes disappears. People are willing to trade food for the opportunity to wipe their faces with a clean cloth or dry their hair after washing. Most importantly, towels give a sense of humanity. When there is chaos and destruction all around, the ability to wipe your hands with a clean towel brings back a sense of civilization and hope. It is a psychological support that helps to keep your sanity in the darkest moments. Chapter 4. Sometimes the smallest things have the most power. When the world is falling apart around you, when big solutions don't work, it's the little things that can save lives. The following 4 items fit in your pocket, cost less than a Starbucks coffee, but their value in a crisis can exceed the cost of a car. Item number 7, plastic ties. My friend David, a mechanic from Detroit with 20 years of experience, still tells the story of how plastic ties saved him during the snowstorm of 2014. His truck broke down in the middle of a highway to nowhere. The temperature was -15, and his cell phone service was down. The problem was a torn radiator pipe. Without repair, the car would have boiled over in 5 minutes. Under normal circumstances, David would have gone to a car dealership to get a new part. But here, on a snowy road, 30 miles from the nearest town, he had only a small package of zip ties in the glove compartment. In 2 minutes, he wrapped the torn pipe around the ties, creating a temporary seal. It was enough to get him to safety. 12 ties for $3 saved his life. Plastic ties are all about speed. When seconds make all the difference, when you need to fix, patch, or connect something quickly, ties work instantly. Pull, click, and you're done. No need for tools, components, or complicated manipulations. During Hurricane Harvey, a Houston family used the tie-downs to secure an awning over their damaged roof. In 15 minutes, they created a waterproof shelter that withstood winds of up to 60 miles per hour. Conventional ropes slipped and untied, but the ties held them firmly in place. Ties also become a safety tool. They can quickly tie the hands of an intruder or secure a door so that it cannot be opened from the outside. Police officers use special ties instead of handcuffs because they are lighter, cheaper, and more reliable. I always have tie-downs in different sizes. Small 4-inch ones for minor repairs, medium 8-inch ones for most tasks, and large 12-inch ones for major jobs. A pack of 50 ties takes up less space than a pack of cigarettes, but can solve hundreds of problems. Item number 8, aluminum foil. If ties are about speed, aluminum foil is about versatility. For $2 or $3, you get a roll of metal that can become a frying pan, mirror, antenna, radiation shielding, and dozens of other tools. My Aunt Margaret from Arizona taught me how to cook in foil while camping. Potatoes wrapped in foil and placed in the heat are baked in an hour without any utensils. Meat in foil remains juicy and does not burn. Fish wrapped in foil with vegetables turns into a restaurant dish right on the fire. But cooking is only the beginning. Foil reflects light better than a mirror. A palm-sized piece of foil can send a signal up to 10 miles away on a sunny day. Airplanes and helicopters can see the foil's glitter even in dense forests. Foil also keeps you warm. By wrapping it around your feet under your socks, you prevent heat from escaping through the soles. This can save you from frostbite when you have to stand on cold concrete or snow for a long time. Foil also protects electronics from electromagnetic pulses. By wrapping your phone, radio, or flashlight with several layers of foil, you create a Faraday cage that will block harmful radiation. This may sound paranoid, but after the solar storm of 2012 nearly destroyed all electronics on the planet, many people began to take it seriously. A fisherman I know from Alaska uses foil to make lures. A small piece attached to a hook shines in the water and attracts fish better than expensive artificial lures. You can also use foil to wrap fish so that it doesn't spoil. Item number 9. Paracord rope is civilization. Without it, we couldn't build houses, ships, or even tie up sheaves of grain. But ordinary rope is thick, heavy, and takes up a lot of space. Paracord is the rope for the 21st century. For $8 to $12, you get 50 feet of paracord that can withstand a load of up to 550 pounds. That's enough to lift a motorcycle or pull a stuck car. But the real magic of paracord is inside. Each strand of paracord consists of 7 thin veins. Spin 5 feet of paracord, and you get 35 feet of thin but strong thread. This thread can be used to sew clothes, repair equipment, knit nets, or even catch fish. My cousin Michael, who served in Afghanistan, told me how paracord saved their patrol. Their car fell into a hole, and the only way to pull it out was to connect all the pieces of paracord into one long cable. 12 soldiers joined their paracord bracelets together to create an 80-foot rope that pulled the 3-ton vehicle out. Paracord does not rot, does not tear from ultraviolet light, and can withstand temperatures from -40 to plus 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It works in water, snow, sand, and any other conditions. The paracord is also compact. 50 feet can be woven into a bracelet that takes up no space on your wrist. Or you can roll it into a ball the size of a tennis ball. This means you can carry a serious tool without even noticing its weight. Item number 10, military tape. If paracord connects things, Then Army tape repairs them. This gray or black tape is no ordinary duct tape. It is an engineering miracle that can stop a water leak, repair an engine, or even save a life. My neighbor Tom still recalls the night when Army duct tape saved his family campsite. A heavy downpour started at 3 in the morning, and the wind tore their tent in 3 places. His wife and 2 children woke up in puddles of water, and the temperature dropped to 40 degrees. Under normal circumstances, this would have meant the end of the hike and a quick return home. But Tom had a roll of Army tape. In 15 minutes, he filled in all the holes, created additional seams, and even glued part of the tent to a tree for added stability. Not only did the tent survive the rest of the night, but it lasted for another 3 days until the end of the trip. Army duct tape is waterproof. It holds up underwater, in snow, in rain, and even in seawater. Ordinary adhesive tape gets wet and comes off in hours, while the Army tape lasts for months. But repair is only one application. The tape can be used to make a rope by twisting it into a tube. Such a rope can withstand up to 100 pounds of load and does not tear from sharp edges. Adhesive tape can be used to stick bandages to wounds when there is no medical plaster. You can create tool handles, waterproof joints, or even repair shoes. During Hurricane Sandy, an electrician from Brooklyn used Army duct tape to temporarily repair electrical cables. This allowed him to restore power to 3 buildings until the power company arrived. A roll of high-quality Army tape costs $5 to $8, but its value in a crisis is impossible to estimate. It is a tool that turns broken things into working ones, leaking things into dry ones, and torn things into whole ones. These 4 items together cost less than $20, but can save your life dozens of times. Tie-downs for speed, foil for versatility, paracord for joining, and duct tape for repair. Little helpers that become giants when all else fails. Chapter 5. And now we come to the most unexpected characters in our story, the things you pass by every day without noticing their power. Objects that seem so ordinary that they are hard to take seriously. But it is these little things that can make the difference between life and death when all else fails. Item number 11, baking soda. For $1 or $2, you can buy a dose of baking soda that will replace half of your first aid kit in most household chemicals. This white, innocent substance is a real chameleon among survival items. My grandmother Ruth, a survivor of the Great Depression, always kept an open box of baking soda in the fridge and 3 more closed boxes in the pantry. I didn't understand why for a long time until she showed me all the ways to use it. Soda is toothpaste when you run out of real toothpaste. A pinch on a wet toothbrush cleans your teeth better than expensive toothpastes. It is deodorant when you can't afford to buy a new one. Just sprinkle it on your armpits and legs. It is a shampoo for oily hair, a tablespoon in a glass of water. But most importantly, baking soda heals. It neutralizes the acid and burns. A tablespoon of soda in a glass of water stops heartburn and poisoning. Soda disinfects wounds better than hydrogen peroxide. It creates an alkaline environment in which bacteria cannot survive. During Hurricane Katrina, a nurse I know, Lindsay, used baking soda to treat burns on the victims. When they ran out of medicines, baking soda was the only way to stop the pain and prevent infection. She mixed soda with water to a paste and applied it to the burned areas. Soda also purifies water from chlorine and other chemicals. A teaspoon per gallon of water makes even pool water drinkable. It also extinguishes grease fires better than water. Just pour a box of baking soda on burning oil. In cooking, baking soda replaces baking powder. Bread made with baking soda and vinegar rises even without yeast. And mixed with flour and salt, soda becomes the basis for pancakes, which can be cooked even on an open fire. Item number 12, English pins. $2 or $3 for a box of English pins, and you have a tool that our great-grandmothers used to solve hundreds of household problems. These little metal helpers may seem old-fashioned, but their simplicity is their strength. My grandfather Charlie, a World War II veteran, always wore 2 pins on his jacket lapel. He said the pins saved his life in Normandy when he used them to repair a torn parachute sling. Pins repair clothes instantly. A torn jacket, torn pants, a torn sleeve. A pin makes things wearable again in a second. In a crisis when there is no time or opportunity to sew, pins keep you warm and dry. But it's not just about repairs. Pins become a medical tool. A pin heated over a candle can be used to pierce a swollen wound to drain pus. You can remove wood chips from a finger. You can sew a shallow cut if you don't have needles. And pins are also fishing hooks. Bend a pin at the right angle, and you will get a hook that will catch a trout-sized fish. Attach it to a string of paracord, add a bait made of bread or a worm, and you have a complete tackle. During the Texas blackout, the family used pins to attach blankets to the windows. This created an additional layer of insulation that increased the temperature in the room by 8 degrees. Without the pins, the blankets were constantly falling off, but with them, they stayed firmly in place all night. Item number 13, durable garbage bags. $3 to $5 for a pack of thick garbage bags was an investment in versatility. These large plastic bags can become anything from clothing to shelter, from a water container to a means of transportation. The most obvious use is as a poncho. Make a hole for your head in the middle of the bag, and you have a waterproof cloak that will protect you from the rain better than an expensive jacket. The bag covers the whole body and doesn't get wet even in the pouring rain. But bags are also an awning. Stretched between trees or poles, the bag creates a shelter from the sun and rain. Two bags connected with tape cover a space the size of a small room. My friend Carol from California used garbage bags during a wildfire. When she had to evacuate urgently, she quickly packed her most valuable items into the bags. Documents, photos, medicines, everything remained dry and protected even during the chaotic evacuation. The bags also serve as water containers. One large bag can hold up to 30 gallons of water. Put the bag in a hardened box or bucket, fill it with water, and you have a tank that will provide your family with water for a week. In cold weather, the bags turn into insulation. Wear the bag on your feet under your pants, and your feet will stay dry even in wet snow. Stuff the bag with leaves or newspapers, and you'll have a pillow or mattress for sleeping on the hard ground. Item number 14, bandanas. $5 to $8 for a few square pieces of fabric may seem like a waste, but bandanas are one of the most versatile items in the survival world. These simple scarves have been used by cowboys, soldiers, and travelers for centuries. The most obvious use is dust protection. Tie a bandana to your face and it will filter dust, smoke, and fine particles from the air. During Hurricane Sandy, when the air was full of construction dust and debris, bandanas saved the lungs of thousands of people. A bandana also protects from the sun. Tied around the neck, it prevents sunburn on the most vulnerable parts of the skin. On the head, it replaces a hat and protects against heat stroke. But bandanas are also a medical tool. A clean bandana becomes a bandage for large wounds. Twisted into a rope, it becomes a tourniquet to stop bleeding. Soaked in cold water, it becomes a compress for bruises and bumps. My friend Ed, who worked as a rescuer, told me how a bandana saved his life while searching in the rubble. When he was stuck under a concrete slab, the bandana became a signal flag that other rescuers noticed. The bright red fabric stood out among the gray rubble like a beacon. Bandanas also filter water. Several layers of a clean bandana will filter out dirt and large particles from river or lake water before boiling or disinfecting it. Item number 15, steel wool. And now for the secret weapon. For $3 or $4, you can buy a pack of steel wool that will give you the most reliable way to start a fire, even in the most difficult conditions. It's a trick that only experienced hunters and military men know about. My Uncle Will, who served in Vietnam, taught me this trick when I was 12 years old. Take a walnut-sized piece of steel wool and touch it with both poles of a 9-volt battery. The cotton wool will instantly catch fire with a bright flame, even if it is wet. This works because steel wool has a huge surface area and low resistance. The electric current heats the thin fibers to the combustion temperature in a fraction of a second. Even an old battery that can't run a flashlight can ignite steel wool. During an ice storm in Vermont, a family survived 5 days without electricity using this method. When they ran out of matches and the lighter stopped working in the cold, steel wool and batteries from the TV remote gave them a fire for cooking and warmth. Steel wool also cleans dishes better than sponges. It scrapes burnt food off pots and pans without damaging the surface. You can even use coarse steel wool to sharpen knives. Another unexpected use is to protect against rodents. Fill the cracks in the walls with a steel wool, and mice or rats won't be able to chew their way through. The metal cuts their mouths, so they quickly give up. These 15 items together cost less than $100, but their value in a crisis is invaluable. They fit in one box, last for years, and can save your life dozens of times. Now, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? As long as the lights are on in your house, as long as the stores are open, as long as you have a choice, will you collect these simple, cheap things? Will you be ready to protect your family when the time comes? Because the time will come. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And when the darkness falls like a hammer on your familiar world again, these little things will make the difference between survival and tragedy.